We finally have footage of Joe Biden golfing. We also have Joe Biden's and the First Lady's tax return. The Democrats absolutely love Hamas. And a CNN host praises Antifa. And I have a lot to say about that. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Before we get into our lead story, please take a moment right now to hit that like button. It really does help the channel, and it also helps the YouTube algorithm push my video out there to viewers who have not seen my content or my channel. And if you want to support new conservative talk shows like the Bald Brad Show, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, but also the bell notification button so you're notified whenever we go live, which is every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that being said, folks, our lead story of the day comes from our friends over at the Daily Wire. If you're not already a member, please go over and become a subscriber today. This is written by Ian Hayworth, and he titles it, "When Trump Was President, Golfing During a Crisis Was Criminal. With Joe Biden, It's a Fun Day Out." And absolutely right. If you remember, for 4+ years, they ripped this man for golfing, right? Since day one, everybody knew that Trump was a golfer. Everyone knew Trump was an avid golfer. He would go all the time, and they constantly ripped him for going golfing. Even on a good day, by the way, even when nothing was happening, he was getting ripped. The man should be in the White House. He should never leave, blah, blah, blah. I'm okay with Joe Biden going golfing during a crisis. I'm okay with the president going golfing during a crisis. Look, as long as it's not war or anything like that, heck, maybe even during war, the man needs to get out and clear the air a little bit. We all get that. Do a nice round of golf, have a couple drinks, a little bit of a cigar, spend time with some buddies, make some wise-ass, crack-ass jokes. Hey, you know what? And you're good to go. It doesn't take a lot for a man to de-stress. So, look, I get it. Go golfing all you want. I'm all for it. I just don't like the hypocrisy of the left for going, hey, there's a crisis going on with Trump, whatever it may be. Why is he going golfing? People just don't get it. Maybe try to go do a sport or go do something that ultimately de-stresses you, and it might help you out a lot. It might make you think and make better decisions later on. But I don't like the hypocrisy here that's going on, especially from Joe Biden that ripped Trump for going golfing during a crisis or wherever the hell it was, and now during his multiple of crises, whether you got the Middle East, you got the gas pipeline that's going on with Colonial Pipeline, you got the economy that's happening, you got inflation going through the roof, you got an immigration crisis, and a bunch more other things, and the man's going golfing, and nobody on the left is criticizing that. They're all for it. Oh, look at him, a nice little, look at Grandpa going out and going a little golfing. Isn't that fun? So here we have it. Since assuming office on January 20th, President Joe Biden has been standing fecklessly at the helm as the country descends into chaos, seemingly experiencing crisis after crisis. That is an absolutely true statement right off the get-go here from Ian. Whether it be the border crisis with unprecedented waves of illegal immigrants attempting to enter the country, an energy crisis exacerbated by the Democrats' attitude towards green fuels, a stagnating economy with disastrous job numbers, and a resurgence in terrorist violence in the Middle East as Iran-backed terrorists fire rockets at Jews, the policies of the Biden administration have been at the forefront throughout. So it's everything I just said, probably just well worded, better than I could ever say. But if you all remember, or if you're new to the show, I've been asking for footage of Joe Biden golfing for a long time. I just can't imagine the guy hitting a driver, guys. I played ice hockey for 25 years. I also played golf even before that. I am not a good golfer. I actually never learned how to hit a driver. I can only hit irons and putt and pitching wedges and stuff like that. So I don't actually know how to hit a driver. But, you know, I normally splice it because I don't rotate my hands well. That has really nothing to do with the story. I just thought you should know. But we finally have footage of Joe Biden golfing. I haven't seen this yet. So I'm going to go ahead and check it out. Let's watch it.
No. Did he hate it?
Oh, God. Oh, God. I swear, if you haven't seen this video, the ball goes backwards.
Did he hate it?
It's better than I could have ever thought. It's way better than I could have ever thought. Oh my God. Wow, well worth the wait. Holy crap, I'm sweating. Oh, that came out like 13 hours ago, and I've been sitting there waiting to watch it all freaking day. Oh my God, how do you hit that backwards? Oh, excuse me. Well, there you have it, guys. Joe Biden doing wonders on the green. Okay. All right, let's bring it together. Let's bring it together, folks. God, that's our president. Woo! Oh my God. I'm sorry, I just can't believe I just saw what I saw. I mean, I was expecting, hey, you know, like a really crappy shot, or, you know, hey, the guy blew out his knee, or like he blew out his back, but the guy shot the ball backwards. It's like when somebody says, oh, the president fell, you know, while walking on stairs. You're like, oh man, he must have really tumbled down those stairs. And come to find out, you watch the video and he's falling going up the stairs. So it's just constantly exceeding expectations, not in just stuff like this, but also the way he runs the country. So, hey, more power to him. More power to him. It says here, however, while the world appears to fall apart around us, Joe Biden recently found time to attempt to play a relaxing game of golf, providing onlookers with footage of what should be reserved for aerobic putt-putt golf games. In isolation, the fact that Biden chose to waste a few hours playing golf in reverse. That's perfect. Well done. Well done, Ian from the Daily Wire. Let me just read that over again. In isolation, the fact that Biden chose to waste a few hours playing golf in reverse is hardly a scandal. However, let's note that the media's coverage of Biden's golf activity is muted at best, and even non-existent from some outlets, despite Biden's leisure clashing with ongoing crises under his watch. I'm sorry. I still can't get the image out of my mind of this guy hitting the golf ball backwards. It's freaking hard to do. Okay? Hey, but you know what? He cured COVID. You know what I mean? He cured COVID. So maybe the guy's magical powers. I just love that it says that he was playing golf in reverse for a few hours. Don't you love how Biden just like, once he shot it, that whole swing. Oh, God. It says here, ABC, Trump's golfs in Florida as COVID relief hangs in the balance. People magazine, Trump's golfs with Kid Rock in Florida amid impending release of Mueller report. The New York Times, was Trump golfing? White House shrouds time as his clubs is in mystery. And it just goes on through all the stuff here, dates and times of all the times the media ripped Trump for ultimately playing golf when maybe he shouldn't have. Again, I don't have a problem with that. But, you know, you don't hear anything from the media about Joe Biden golfing and ripping him a new one with all these crises going on. Why? Because they absolutely love Joe Biden. They love the way he's running this country. They love the way he's destroying this country. And hey, don't take it from me. CNN's technical director under Project Veritas, right, was outed and exposed, Charlie Chester, for saying, look, fear sells. CNN pushes propaganda. So it's not me saying this stuff. Heck, the guy that works for CNN said it himself. Undercover reporting done by Project Veritas. Great. So if you haven't seen it, please go over and check out Project Veritas. It is a few weeks old, maybe even a month old at this point. But there you have it. The mass media supporting the president. And I do want to say this because it is one of the things that I've talked about in my book at the current moment as I'm writing. And yes, I finally started doing about a page and a half, 2 pages a day. So hopefully we can get this book done. My goal is by summer to get this thing done. But, you know, I don't have a problem with the media pushing a certain kind of propaganda that's pro-American, meaning showing the president being strong. I think it's important to show Joe Biden is strong. I do agree that it's important, hey, you know, wear those aviators, have them jogging, doing things. I do think that's important to show that aspect of our president because it's not just for us to have credibility in our leader, but also for our foreign adversaries to look at America and say, hey, if their leader is strong, then that's a strong country as well. So I'm kind of for that kind of propaganda. I understand it's manipulating, but I do think it's important to show our president as being strong. Now, in other news, we also have a story here by Charlotte Pence Bond from the Daily Wire. We do have Joe Biden's tax return information. It says Biden and Harris released tax returns, which show high tax rates and little given to charity. Now, To preface this, many of you that are new to the show, I was a tax accountant for a lot of years. I did switch careers because I was tired of working 90+ hour weeks. But again, I love the job. I love the career. So this is more of an accountant's reaction to somebody's tax returns. I might say that you guys might say things you guys disagree with. I'm going to say things that probably accountants disagree with. But me, just in a big picture of a president's tax returns, regardless of it's Democrat, Republican, I could really care less. I don't really see the big deal in releasing somebody's tax returns, whether it's a president or an individual. One, I don't agree with it. That's your private personal information. I don't think the American citizens have a right to know your private personal information in regards to your tax return, things like that. That's just my political opinion, I guess you would call it. I just don't think a tax return really tells you that much about an individual. That's all I'm saying. You would really have to do more of an audit to know more about an individual than you would by just looking at their tax returns. Hey, this is how much money they make. Here's like where their investments are at. Maybe if you read, maybe if you have the supporting documents, of course, you'll know a ton about the person. But just looking at their tax return in general, you can gather more information about a person than you otherwise wouldn't have if you never have talked to them. But again, you're not going to know that much from somebody's tax return just by looking at it. That's why I'm not for the whole Trump releasing his return, Biden releasing his. I think it's stupid in my mind, but I'm sure many of you might disagree with me, but that's just my take on it. It says here on Monday, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris released their 2020 tax returns, revealing how much they paid in taxes and what they gave to charity. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden filed their tax returns, revealing that their income was less in 2020 than it was the year before, which is no surprise. 2020 was COVID. We expect a lot of people to have less income that year. We expect probably a lot of businesses and people to have a loss, actually. Now, some people's income might have gone up because the government was giving stimulus checks. They were giving unemployment. Unemployment, as you're hearing now, is paying more people to stay unemployed than actually go back to work. So that's why you might even see wages on average go up because the government was ultimately giving people a check that weren't working. Their 2019 tax return reported an adjusted gross income of $985,000 and a total tax of basically $300,000, and this was reported by The Hill. Now, a lot of people ask me when I do taxes, what is AGI? If you look at your 1040, or if you look at your 540 for the state of California, 1040 for federal, is your adjusted gross income. If you look at the top of it, you're accumulating a certain amount of income that can come from your W-2, that can come from dividends, it can come from interest, it can come from various sources. So you say at the top on line item, you made, say, $60,000. I'm just going to throw a number out there. And then you made $1,000 of interest income. Well, now your adjusted gross income at the bottom of the sheet on the front page would be ultimately $61,000. So that would be your adjusted gross income, which means, he clearly got income from probably multiple of sources. And so, great income, heck, almost making $1 million. But, I wonder what his what's his face, good old Bernie, thinks about all this stuff. It says here the White House responded and announced the president and first lady filed their income tax return jointly and reported federal adjusted gross income of $607,000. The Bidens paid $157,000 in federal income tax, and their 2020 effective federal income tax rate is 25.9%. But according to the left, that's not enough. I thought it's supposed to be higher than that. Why is somebody that's making that much money only paying 26% in tax? I thought that wasn't enough, guys. But you're not going to hear the outrage of the left. Why? Because they love Biden. They want to massage his shoulders. They love this guy. It doesn't matter that he didn't pay enough in their mind. It's only a matter if the rich, which this is rich, by the way, the rich or conservatives and Republicans, they're the ones that have to pay more. The corporate, the 1%, the 1% has to pay more. It's like, shut up. You know what I mean? God, that guy's voice is so annoying. Holy crap! Pay the money! It's like, geez Louise, dude. Take a nap. Some of the income on the Biden's tax return is listed with a corporation, which is reportedly an entity that Jill Biden uses for book projects and speaking events. It is also used for annuities and pensions. Do you think that Biden still calls Jill Joe? Do you remember that? Oh, God. He didn't know his wife's name. Poor guy. The Biden's 2020 tax return also showed that the Bidens reported $30,000 in charitable donations, which is about 5.1% of their entire income. Now, as Biden is supposedly a big believer in God, he's Catholic, you all know you're supposed to tithe roughly 10% of your income. So he's only half in it, which makes me wonder. Now, of course, I'm being a little bit facetious here. Now, if you're going to claim to be super religious, then yeah, you would expect somebody to pay a minimum of 10% of their entire income to tithing to whatever synagogue or church that they go to. He's paying 5.1% of his total income. And, hey, that's pretty good. I don't really care, to be honest with you. Could he have underreported his charitable donations? Maybe. I've seen it. I've seen where people said, hey, you know what? I don't have receipts for this. Or, hey, I just went ahead and just paid cash under the table. I didn't want people to know that I'm donating to this institution. I don't want it reported on my tax return, especially when you're dealing with a public figure like Joe Biden, where you expect maybe tax returns to be leaked or at some point being shown to the public, which you would imagine 2019 was what kind of prompted maybe certain discretionary things on his tax return. But what you have here is his charitable donations, 5.1%. That's pretty good. I mean, if you're going to be president, you probably want that to be 10%. That way you'd have no backlash. But hey, $30,000, good for him for donating to people. Who knows who he's donating to? You can also find that on the tax return as well. We'll see if that shows up in this article. The White House reported that their largest giving amount was $10,000 and went to the Beau Biden Foundation, which is an organization that works to confront abuse and protect children. So, hey, money going to hopefully a good foundation that seems to do good work, confront abuse and protect children. So again, I'm not here to just rip Biden. I'm here to give you a tax accountant specifically, kind of a reaction to what I'm reading here in real time. I haven't read this yet, so you're kind of getting a real-time reaction from me. But it says the president and first lady also put out their Delaware income tax return, so their state return, and reported that they paid $28,000, almost $29,000 in Delaware income tax. The first lady also put out her Virginia income tax return and reported paying $443 in Virginia income tax. So probably didn't make a lot of income in Virginia is what my guess is, and ultimately reported only $443 in income tax. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris and her husband Doug also released their 2020 federal income tax return along with their state income tax returns for California and the District of Columbia. So the White House announced the vice president and second gentleman reported federal adjusted gross income of $1.6 million. Actually, it's closer to $1.7 million the vice president, second gentleman made. 1.7, folks, ain't hurting. Not hurting for money. They're doing real well. But remember, the system is systemic, okay? It's out to get people of color. But somehow she and her husband making $1.7 million, system freaking, man, that's a system that's racist. Holy crap. Holy lordy. That's a lot of buku bucks, folks. I've been watching a lot of Looney Tunes, so if you haven't caught that in the last couple episodes, there's this guy that has YouTube, and he has a bunch of Looney Tunes on YouTube, and is bringing nostalgia back for me, okay? So forgive me. They paid $621,000 in federal income tax, amounting to a 2020 effective federal income tax rate of 36.7%. They also paid $125,000 in California income tax. And second gentleman, I guess that's who that is, paid $57,000 in District of Columbia income tax as well. They contributed $27,000 to charity in 2020, so way less than 5%, that's for sure. But, hey, these people are the ones that stand up for morality. They're the ones that tell us how to do things. They're the ones that tell religious people what to do and kind of tell them how to run their religious freedoms in this country, but they're not doing the bare minimum that they're supposed to be doing when it comes to charitable donations on a religious basis. Again, that should be at least a minimum of 10%. Now, I understand that we all are short on our charitable donations, especially in 2020, but when you're making $1.7 million and you're supposed to be out there, or sorry, not supposed to be, you are out there grandstanding things and making it seem like you're holier than thou, you and Biden, and you're both undercutting the charitable donations, it makes me wonder. Now, what I will say, I don't know if this is combined charitable donations. I don't know how they're treating this. I don't know if this is partially cash, non-cash. I don't know. So we could only be getting a piece of the pie here, but I'm going to assume that this is all charity combined all together. As reported by NPR, the California couple had an adjusted gross income of $1.7 thousand in 2020, according to their tax returns. This is a 45% decrease over their 2019 earnings of $3 million. Okay? So politics is paying these people good. Now, I understand her husband can be making really good money as well, but she went from making $3 million to $1.7 million. So there is a massive decrease there, and there's a lot of reasons for that, mostly because of the economy, mostly because of COVID. So we expect to see these declines. But again, there's nothing much left in this article, but what I want you guys to see, and what I want to get across to a lot of conservatives and Republicans about wanting to see Mitt Romney's tax returns or President Trump's tax returns or Obama's tax returns or Biden's tax returns. Honestly, guys, you shouldn't care. And I'm being sincere about that. I joke around a lot, but the tax returns, do they tell us some things? Sure. They tell us how much somebody makes, but that doesn't really tell us anything. And kind of who cares how much somebody makes? Hey, good for her for making $3 million. How she made it, I'm not sure. I haven't seen her tax return. Joe Biden making over $1 million. Hey, good for him. You know, or making at least a few hundred thousand. So, you know, they're donating money. Could they donate more? Sure. But that's up to them on an individual basis. Who are we to judge how much they are donating? Now, can we call it the hypocrisy? Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to bring it up for two reasons. Again, the hypocrisy of it all, but also at the same time to kind of give you guys a perspective of like, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Again, you get more information from doing auditing because that's when you kind of sift through the documents. You ask questions. Why did your income decrease? Or why did your income increase? What was going on with your revenue? What's going on with your expenses? And then looking through the disclosures as well. So you're going to get a lot more from an audit than you are from somebody just showing their tax return. Again, it doesn't really show that much. And by the way, folks, you know, if somebody's planning on running for office, their tax return could look different from prior years. If you know that you're going to run for office and that your tax return is going to be exposed to the public, you might underreport things. You might overreport things than maybe what you did in previous years. So you're going to alter your tax returns. And by the way, they're not the ones doing the tax return. You got a tax accountant like myself or somebody else sitting behind a desk or a cubicle and doing this tax return for them. They don't have a clue. They don't have the slightest clue on what is going on in their tax return. I'll tell you right now. Same with Trump. And I tell people this all the time. Like, you think these guys have a clue on how to do their taxes and what the hell is going on in their tax return? Do you know how thick their tax return is? They don't have a clue on this stuff. They pay people probably $300 to $600+ an hour to do their tax return. Okay, so they don't have a clue what's being reported. They just send all their crap to an office. The office sift through it themselves. They look at prior year numbers. They look at the numbers they have this year. They look at some changes and fluctuation from year to year. Maybe call up the Bidens every now and then to kind of ask questions. But I'll tell you guys, if you're somebody's tax accountant for a lot of years, you don't have to ask a lot of questions. Heck, I've done a lot of people's tax returns where I never even spoke to them because I didn't need to. I had all their documents. Things looked good. So I'm telling you right now, you guys shouldn't care. You really shouldn't. Again, look at the charity. Sure, that doesn't really tell much about a person. They could be sending money to somebody and not reporting it on their tax return. Now you could say, well, Brad, why the heck would you do that? Well, for that prime reason. If he's donating money to places he doesn't want people to see, then he wouldn't report it on his tax return. So very well could end up shelling out tons of money to somebody or to some institution. Now, is that smart to do by not reporting on your tax return? Sure, but you have to remember, guys, taxes are actually pretty complicated. I know the media doesn't want to make it to seem like that is, or make it seem like the case, but there's certain things that you can get caught basically in a trap that no matter what you report, it's not really going to move anything around because you're kind of caught in a trap. I'm just going to give a very baseline that I've seen a lot of Americans get trapped in. It's called AMT. So no matter kind of what you do with certain things, you're not really going to get out of it. So if a public accountant's watching this, you know what I'm talking about, and you know that I'm being very simplified when I'm talking about AMT and that aspect. But all I'm saying here is that, you know, there's certain things happening where sometimes there's not a lot of payoff and not a lot of reward for reporting something on your tax return, even though you went ahead and did it. So I'm going to leave it at that, but there you have it. Biden and Harris released tax returns which show high tax rates and little given to charity. And in other news, we have House Democrats blocking consideration of bill sanctioning Hamas financial supporters. I've kind of took a step back on this whole Israel-Palestine issue that's going on in the Middle East, and there's a reason for that. I'm ignorant about it all. I am a big supporter of Israel. I'm not Jewish, I'm Christian, but, you know, I've always grown up being pro-Israel, and that doesn't mean I hate the Palestinians by any means. I don't. Somebody asked me straight up, do you hate Palestine? I said, of course not. Do I hate Hamas? Yes. And I will say that anywhere. Hamas is a terrorist organization, should be blown to hell. Okay? I don't like what they do. They use children as shields. They prop up women and children that have been hurt from the bombings, but they don't ever show the crap that the men are doing. They don't ever show the rockets being launched in between apartment buildings, in between buildings, on the rooftops of buildings, because they know that if Israel were to strike that building, a lot of citizens would be ultimately killed, and that would include women and children. So they don't ever want to talk about stuff like that. They just want to sit there and rip Israel a new one for the stuff that they're doing. Look, you bomb Israel, you bomb any country, you're going to pay the price. And you know what I'm telling you right now, Hamas is hating life right now because Israel's pissed, and they have every right to do so. And I'm happy Israel is bombing the crap out of Hamas. Am I happy that it's happening and ultimately citizens, women and children are dying? Of course not. I don't even think Israel's happy about that, but you won't get the Palestinians and you won't get Hamas saying that, guys. So if there's a Palestinian watching my show, look, I don't want innocent people to die. But that's what happens when I almost cussed, but that's what happens when you launch rockets into another country. Okay, that's what happens when you create this type of warfare. I understand it's not necessarily war, maybe in some people's standards, but when rockets are going back and forth, and you're just obliterating buildings back and forth, I like to think it's a little bit of a war, right? So this is the casualties of what happens when you make stupid ass decisions by Hamas taking rockets and launching them into Israel. Now, if you want to go back of like who started launching first, blah, blah, in history, I ain't playing that game. Hamas started it this time, and now they're paying the price for it. Israel's pissed. Israel's going the extra mile right now because you got a weak president named Joe Biden that's having a little bit of nap tap. The man's sleeping, folks, okay? He's having too much milk. He's out there golfing. He's having too much fun, right? I'm being facetious. Look, I'm being facetious in the aspect of the whole golfing and nap time, right? I'm joking around in that regards, but he is a weak president, okay? Everybody sees that, which is why you have this issue right when Trump leaves office, only a couple months in. Now you got ultimately all this crap going on in the Middle East. And look, there was peace in the Middle East. Hell, people were signing peace agreements left and right in the Middle East when Trump was president. Now you got Biden in here. Everybody knows Biden's asleep. Everybody knows the guy doesn't know what's going on. So they're going to handle their own shit. Okay, they're not looking to America for support, but you got Joe Biden sending stuff to Hamas, and now thank God he's now replenishing some sort of Israeli weapons deal going on over there. Heck, we should be giving Israel all our support, because if Israel lays down their weapons, Israel will cease to exist. Palestine won't tell you that. The Palestinians won't tell you that. The Democrats won't tell you that. The left won't tell you that. CNN won't tell you that. MSNBC won't tell you that, because you're going to be lied to. Look, I got no investment here, folks. I don't make any money off this. I don't make any money off anybody doing this. So I'm just going to tell you straight up what's going to happen to Israel. I have no reason to lie to you. Again, I don't get anything. I love your viewership. I would love for you to agree with me, but I would be A-okay if you disagreed with me. And I'm sure you guys have on some aspects. I'm a big supporter of Ben Shapiro. I do agree with him on about 99% of stuff, and that's why I love him so much, because I finally found somebody in my life that I can actually agree with on almost every damn level, and I feel like I'm listening to myself. It's a little bit of a, I guess, you know what, I can't even think of the word right now. There's a little bit of self-grandizing, not that, but you know what? We're moving on. We're moving past it. I got a lot of things to get to, a lot of things on my mind. But it says here, House Democrats rejected a Republican push on Tuesday to consider legislation that would apply sanctions on Hamas militants amid an escalating military conflict with Israel. Why would you not do that? As Democrats, why would you not do that? But it just shows you where the mindset of the Biden administration is. It shows you the mindset of where the Democrats are. And it shows you the radical crap that they've been doing since the formation of their party. Remember, they're the party of racism. I know they want to sit there and say the Republicans are racist and conservatives are racist. We're all about the individual. We don't care about the color of your skin. We can only be so clear about it. Don't give two shits. But the Democrats are all about critical race theory. They're all about the 1619 Project. They're all about, segregating you into groups. They're all about talking about identity politics constantly. They're all about supporting terrorist organizations like Hamas. I don't see how they're not kind of a messed up party. I'm just being upfront. Now you could say like, oh, Trump said some bad things. Republicans are racist for supporting Trump, blah, blah, blah. Look, we're not doing shit like this, man. We're not putting identity politics. We're not coming up with critical race theory. We're not doing all these things. Heck, most conservatives and Republicans, we just want to be left the hell alone. If you want to prance in the street during gay pride parades, do whatever the hell you want. I just want to be left alone. I don't want you telling me what to do constantly. That's where most of the problem comes in, because you're telling me that, hey, my name is Ben, but in reality, your legal name is Janice, and that somehow you want me to morph reality and call you a man when in actuality you're a woman. So you're requiring me to make certain standards in certain aspects, but you don't have to do anything on your end, which is meet basic biological requirements. But, that's going off on a whole different tangent here. It goes on to say Democrats blocked a bid to bring a Palestinian International Terrorism Support Prevention Act up for consideration in a 217-209 vote along party lines. It's truthfully mind-boggling. And as to why Israel would want to be our ally, honest to God, I don't know at this point. And that's me being sincere. When you got shit like this happening, where you have half Democrats that are supporting, obviously the American citizens, you're basically saying majority of American citizens don't support Israel. Now, Israel is smart by looking past that and knowing fully well that the vast majority of Americans support Israel and want to help them. But it's not a good look to our allies to pull this kind of crap. I have no idea why you wouldn't push this bill through. The bill, introduced by Representative Brian Mast of Florida, would impose sanctions on foreign entities known to have provided financial assistance to Hamas, among other measures. Under my bill, the United States will sanction these groups that are supporting terrorism, Mast said in a floor speech in support of the legislation. Or if we do not pass this bill, we will not stand together for sanction these groups that are enabling this terrorism. Mast was reintroducing the bill, which had passed the House unanimously in 2019, but was not taken up for vote in the Senate. Republicans Tuesday brought the bill up for consideration through a procedure known as the previous question, which functions as a call to end debate on a measure and bring it up for an immediate vote. So I'm truthfully mind-boggled, and forgive me, I'm losing my voice here. Remember, guys, I teach, I also referee, so I'm talking and yelling all day, and I talk during the show. So bear with me as I hopefully don't lose my voice during the show. I just don't get what the end game here of Democrats is. I don't know. This is all positive. You know what I mean? You're not hurting the Palestinians. Heck, the people that are hurting the Palestinians is Hamas, because they're the ones that launched the freaking rockets. So if you didn't launch the rockets, if you aren't constantly trying to say death to all Jews, if you're not trying to ultimately extinguish all the Jewish race, meaning Israel practically, and I understand that's not the entire Jewish race, guys. I understand there's Jews everywhere else in the world. I fully understand that. I'm talking about specifically Israel right now as a nation. And I understand there's not all Jews in Israel. I fully get that, guys, okay? What I'm saying is that Hamas, the Palestinians, want to see Israel cease to exist. Now, there was a great tweet out there earlier today. You guys have heard it before. If Hamas and the Palestinians throw all their weapons, every single weapon in the ocean, they will exist tomorrow. If Israel threw all their weapons into the ocean, they will not exist tomorrow. That gives you a situation on what things look like. Again, I don't have hands on either side. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Palestinian or Israeli or whatever, Muslim or Arab. I'm or Catholic. I'm a Christian. Okay? So I'm just like a third party standing back going like, hey, this is stupid, this is right, this is wrong. Now, should civilians be dying in all this? No. But again, that's the casualty of what happens. And what you'll see from the Palestinians, and I see this from my Palestinian friends, is that they're only posting stuff that Israel does. They are not posting a single thing about what Hamas is doing in the Palestinians. So it's propaganda left and right. And you know what? You pissed Israel off. This is what you get. Unfortunately, this is what you get. And if you're a citizen that has a son or daughter that died, right? And you should be going after Hamas, not Israel. Now, I understand there's going to be you're pissed off about it. I get that. I fully understand that. But you should be focusing, why the hell did you launch rockets? Look what you caused, because this would have never happened right now. My family would have never been dead if you didn't have launched rockets. So blame your own people, blame the Hamas organization, the terrorist organization in your own country. Don't blame Israel for the casualties that are being had, because you know what? Israel's pissed now, and you know what? Maybe they should go in and take out Hamas totally. Now, in other news here, we have a CNN host praising Antifa violence. This comes from the Daily Wire. It is written by Ben Johnson. Again, it says CNN host praises Antifa violence. Yes, people get hurt. This isn't a shock. Again, I talked about it earlier on in the show, is that when Project Veritas exposed CNN by showing a CNN technical director named Charlie Chester is that he talked about how CNN openly pushed propaganda, that their whole mission was to get Trump out of office, and he felt that CNN succeeded in doing that. They manipulated and manufactured stories. They fully crafted stories, his words, not mine, to make it seem like the president was weak, unfit, and unhealthy to hold office. His words, again, not mine. So he also said fear sells. They're going to push COVID. Their next big thing is to push climate change because, again, fear sells. So it doesn't surprise me that you have CNN here posting stuff and doing stuff that supports the radical left because, again, that's their agenda. They're constantly pushing the leftist narrative. But this is an unbiased news site, guys. This is unbiased news. It's trustworthy news. This is where you should get all your information from. There's a reason why that they're not trusted by the American public anymore. There's a reason why Democrats aren't even going to their channel, or should I say their network anymore. The fact that they're even a network is truly mind-boggling. There's a reason why I said channel off the top of my head, because there's YouTubers that get more views than CNN does. And I'm not even kidding. I believe Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, they all get more views than CNN. So the fact that they're somehow a network is just mind-blowing to me that they're even around. They're barely a YouTube show, okay? On CNN's United Shades of America, hosted by Mr. Bell, or Mrs. Bell, I don't know if it's a guy or gal, compared the violent left-wing extremist group Antifa to a beloved children's music star, sanitized their violence and admitted that innocent people get hurt, but implies it's worth it. Now, anybody that supports Antifa is absolutely nuts, because Antifa is known to go out and destroy public and private property. Antifa is known to commit violent acts. Antifa is known to light stuff on fire. Antifa is known to use weapons against police officers. Antifa is known to beat the crap out of reporters. Antifa is known to do violent things against ordinary citizens. So this isn't a group that you would want to support. They claim to be anti-fascist, but they're just fascists masquerading as anti-fascists. That's all they are. And they're too much of idiots to realize that they're really the fascists. I mean, the amount of ignorance that you have to go through to actually call yourself anti-fascist and commit fascist acts is truly mind-boggling. You are not all there in the head. And if you are, then you're just an accomplice to doing something that you know is negligent. That's all but moving on here, I keep going off on random tangents. I understand that, but it's just, I try to fathom and formulate my opinions and my ideas in real time, but also off camera. And I just can't come to certain conclusions here because it's that mind blowing that you have people walking this earth, specifically American citizens, that are going to join Antifa that do this kind of acts. Look, if the Tea Party pulled this kind of BS, I wouldn't be a part of it. If there was a Republican group that was doing this kind of stuff, I wouldn't join it. Would I still be a conservative? Yeah. But I would also say, look, that I would disavow it. I'd be like, what do you guys do? You're a bunch of idiots. Like, for example, the people that did the Capitol riot stuff. What a bunch of idiots. Like, that's me being PG version. And I don't think they're conservative, and I don't think they're Republican. Why? Because that doesn't hold Republican or conservative values. And I don't know a Republican out there that supports what happened on the Capitol riots January 6th. I don't know a single one. I don't see any anchor or host on Fox News or on my show, on Ben Shapiro's show, anybody else's show going, that was a good thing. Yeah, they're like those rioters are like children in a band, and shit happens. I don't see anybody doing that. Everyone's like, yeah, you're an idiot. You shouldn't have done that. Those people should go to jail. They should go to prison for a long time. They should only be eating bologna and egg salad for the rest of their life. Like, we all get it. We all know it's bad, but, not according to CNN, not according to the left. They want to support violence. They want to support Hamas, terrorist organizations. They want to support illegal immigrants. They want to give money to illegal immigrants. Do you see the theme that's going on here? It's not about America first at all. It's about the destruction of America, because America is systemically racist. America is systemically evil, and it must be torn down from bottom to top or top to bottom. And we need to start fresh with the white man not talking, with the white man being extinguished in the same way Hamas wants to extinguish the Jews. It's the same exact crap, just different lines. The show ended by claiming that white supremacist killed former Nation of Islam leader Malcolm X. Bell devoted a segment of his most recent show to the radical leftist group Antifa, whose violent nature has been a matter of record for years. In 2020, many white Americans dealt with complicated feelings about the police for the first time, Bell asserted. The right wing saw that they did what they do. I don't know what that means. They pulled a bait and switch and returned to an old boogeyman, Antifa. To short-circuit the radical reckoning, Bell claimed conservatives preyed on their audience's ignorance and support for traditional occupations like the police. That's a remarkable statement. Truly remarkable. You got to do some twisted methodology thinking to get to that. Images of people clad in black fighting in the streets was an easy idea to sell to people who say things like Blue Lives Matter, said Bell. Ain't nobody blue, he added. Ain't nobody blue. You could tell this man is having it all together, folks, all together. Bell then sanctioned the aims and intentions of the frequently riotous intentional movement. Antifa is short for anti-fascist, he said, echoing fellow CNN personality Don Lemon. Don Lemon's a knucklehead. He's just knucklehead. Sometimes he has said things that are right, and actually, I kind of enjoyed some of his stuff in the past. The dude has just gone full radical, man. And I don't know if he fully believes in everything that he's saying. I mean, it's not him writing it. I'd imagine it's not him writing it. I'd imagine they have an entire writer's room constantly coming up with this woke leftist jargon. And he's like, hey, I'm getting paid millions of dollars to read a screen. Sounds good to me. And just doing it. So I don't know if he's just a puppet or if he really is a puppet and he believes all this stuff at the same time. It goes on here to say, if you're unsure how you feel about that, picture a table. On one side of the table is Hitler and Mussolini, and on the other side is the popular children's performer Rafi. Now, I'm not going to go on a whole historical thing here, but to compare Hitler and Mussolini kind of being together at the same table. Now, if you read Dinesh D'Souza's book about the two, there was some major differences between the two. To the point where even people looked at Hitler like, whoa, dude, you are super evil, man. So now Mussolini, don't get me wrong, dude was freaking evil as well. But all I'm saying is you're having them sit at the table. I don't know. But it has nothing really to do with anything. I just thought it was interesting on a historical aspect of it, talking about Hitler and Mussolini sitting at the same table. I mean, they weren't huge fans of one another. At times they were. I believe, now I could be going back, I could be getting this wrong. I believe Hitler loved Mussolini. He was all about him, but then Hitler was pissed about Mussolini because Mussolini didn't totally side with all his stuff. And Mussolini basically thought the dude was super even crazier than he was. That's beside the point here. Check that stuff out. Read Dinesh D'Souza's book. He goes all into it. Talking about Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, all those guys. Really great stuff. Which side of the table you sitting on? He asked. I'm with Rafi. Bell then met with two members of Portland's Antifa movement saying snarkily, oh, Tucker's going to be so mad. What a stupid statement. Like, it just shows you where and who they care about. They care about the ratings. They care about what Tucker says. Oh, look, we're going to be on TV. Ooh, look, Tucker doesn't like us. Haha. It's like, dude, why don't you just go better yourself? I don't understand it. Why don't you just go read a book? Why don't you go get a job? Why don't you try to better yourself as a person rather than going out supporting Antifa that goes out and ultimately destroys public and private property and hurts people? I don't get it. Like, again, I can't emphasize enough. If there was a Republican group doing this and I knew about it, I would say they shouldn't be doing that, and I would disavow them on my channel. Because I don't like people committing acts of violence. I don't like people burning other people's buildings. I don't like people doing things that Antifa is doing, Black Lives Matter are doing out there in the streets. I don't agree with it. And I don't care who the hell you are, white, black, Asian. I don't give a damn who you are. You shouldn't be doing it. So I'm consistent. I would like to think I'm consistent in my viewpoints. There might be some things that I sway back and forth on that I've maybe been hypocritical about, and I'm fully willing to admit that if I was. But, for them just to sit here, CNN, and go, whoa, this is great. Let's support Antifa. Let's support Hamas. No, not necessarily CNN, but the Democrats supporting Hamas. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe somebody at CNN did something like that. I'm not saying they did. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. In 2017, Fox News host Tucker Carlson played footage of Bell egging on an Antifa crowd and accused him of peddling hate and stoking violent extremism as a side gig. Perhaps referring to Joe Biden, Bell told the two Antifa members that a lot of people on the left have done a lot of work to say Antifa is not a group, it's an ideology, and then you guys actually are a group. They have full-on groups, guys. They have like actual charters that you can sign up for. So this aspect of Joe Biden and the left saying like Antifa is just an ideology, it's just an idea, it's not an actual group. You had Joy Behar saying on The View all but like 2 months ago that Antifa is just an ideology, it's not a group. But yet you have footage of, I believe, CNN or MSNBC just actually interviewing a group of Antifa members that have shirts, they have flags, they have insignias, very similar to kind of how the fascists did in the early 1900s. So, but hey, they're just an ideology, not a group, guys. You can't sign up for them. You can't join them. All these people running in black clad out there, wearing the riot gear and stuff like that, destroying businesses that have Antifa on their shirt, that are waving Antifa flags out there, joining Black Lives Matter. They aren't real, guys. Those are shadow people. That's paranormal crap. They're not real. You're seeing stuff, right? The gaslighting is nuts on the left. Look, this fighting for democracy and against fascism thing has always been a messy business. And yes, people get hurt, property gets damaged, and things get confusing. By the way, if you read what fascists did and what Mussolini did, you would expect to see Mussolini say something like this. I'm not even kidding. You would expect fascists to say things like this. But the dude can't comprehend. Their ideology is totally twisted. Basically, let me rephrase this for you in real time to show you really what they're saying. Look, this fighting for fascism and against democracy thing has always been a messy business. That's really what they're saying, because they're claiming that they're fighting for democracy, but what Antifa is really doing is fighting for fascism. Okay? Now, the left and Democrats are also fighting for socialism, which kind of fascism branched out from under socialism. I'm not going to, again, go into a whole historical data thing on it or historical story on it, maybe for another time, maybe on a weekend video. But all I can say here is that they are supporting fascism and destroying democracy. It's not them. It's that supporting democracy and ultimately trying to rid fascism. That's just a way for them to get by in doing what they're doing. Again, the fascists did the same thing. Go ahead and read it for yourself. I'm trying to think of a book off the top of my head. If you just read general information about fascism, it's not hard to find this kind of stuff, this kind of language about what they said early on. And again, in the 1900s, 1915, 1920s, early on, somewhere around there, I believe you'll find stuff like this. It says, after presenting the two disguised members of the group, one male, one female, as charming and sensitive, Bell conceded that Antifa has a long history of unleashing violence and injury in its wake. Look, this fighting for democracy and against fascism thing has always been a messy business. And yes, people get hurt, property gets damaged, and things get confusing, Bell said. Portland protesters, like the two featured on Bell's show, have caused $2.3 million in damage to city buildings alone. Well, I didn't know if buildings were fascist. That's news to me. Well, Well, I'm sure glad you got those businesses, man. I'm sure glad you did it. What an idiot. But Bell said Martin Luther King Jr. died violently. He did. It was terrible, and a lot of people think it shouldn't have happened. A lot of people think it should have never happened. The man was doing great stuff. Now, not everything about Martin Luther King Jr. was great, and you can say that about everybody. A lot of us do stupid crap that isn't great, but we could say the majority of what we do hopefully is good, and what Martin Luther King Jr. did was good. In addition to hand-to-hand combat, Bell's guest said that Antifa doxes people, saying that they consider to be violent, racist, disgusting things, while hoping they get fired or have to find a new job or get shunned by their in-laws. Like, it's just evil practices that these people are pushing. I'm not even going to bother reading the rest of it. You're getting the idea of how it continues with what the end goal of what Antifa is not to ultimately rid the country of fascism. It's to rid the country of democracy and this great republic. And again, that is why, hopefully, I'm going to finish my book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. That's going to be, first chapter is Antifa. I've already written it. It's about 20 pages just on Antifa alone and the connection to fascism as well. So hopefully you guys can look out for that in the future. Even if I have to publish it myself, I will. I'm not a great writer, guys, but I enjoy doing it. So hopefully I can finish that up again this summer in the next couple months. But also in other news, this was the last little bit I wanted to add in here. It's a continuation of the story of UFOs. Again, I told you guys, I love paranormal. I love ghost stories. I love hearing about Bigfoot. I love hearing about aliens. I love hearing about a craft that we can't identify. Now, this just makes it a lot more better because now the Pentagon's coming out going like, yep, this stuff is real. We encounter, I mean, this isn't like you have these weird shifty characters coming out of the woodworks, right? That are like we see spacecraft out there in the sky and they are probing us left and right. I have video footage of this somewhere and it's out there. No, guys, this is Antifa. This is the government doing this stuff. I was making sure my hat was on straight on my monitor. This is the Pentagon. This is big officials saying this stuff is real. They are UFOs. We're encountering them every single day. We have a lot of footage that hasn't come out to the public. We have actual data on this, meaning we know how fast these craft can go. We know where they're appearing, where they're disappearing. We know that they're able to go and basically go into the water without disrupting the water at all. I mean, there's no splash, nothing like that, you guys. And they're basically saying we don't have any of this technology, okay? So this comes from the Daily Wire News. Once again, the author is not being reported upon, and I can't blame him, because whenever you talk about UFOs, you look as like a crazy person, a loony bin. But I think it's important to, again, report on it because they're flying over our military installations. And without like, with no disregard. I mean, they're jamming our aircraft, which is a act of war, by the way. So this isn't like this foo-foo stuff that we've been hearing for the last, 30 plus years about people showing these weird videos. This is actual military going, we don't know what this is, trained military pilots. We got 1080p footage of this stuff. You have actual pictures of these craft from the cockpit. So this isn't like this stuff that we were back in the day where like, yeah, that person's probably like cracked out. That person's probably hearing voices, whatever it is. This is like some real stuff coming from the Pentagon. So it's titled, Ex-Military Officers Sound Alarm on UFO Report. The tech outstrips our arsenal by at least 100 years. They're saying probably anywhere from 100 to 1,000 years, this tech that we just don't have. So I know some of you commented on the last episode about this stuff that you think it's maybe still tech that the United States government has. So then there's somebody else that's keeping a wrap on this stuff because the Pentagon in the U.S. is like, look, it ain't us. We don't have this stuff. The U.S. military doesn't have it. It outpaces us. So the only other option is either it's a foreign country that has this tech and this shit is flying all over the United States constantly, every day, by the way, monitoring all the crap we're doing, or this is actually something from another civilization. There's only two routes at this point, you guys. Again, it's either a foreign country has this tech. I don't believe the United States military has this tech. I just don't. The videos that we're seeing, if we had this tech, I don't know what we're doing. Like in the sense of this is some mind-blowing crap that we can end up going to other planets and stuff. That's all I'm saying. Like the fact that if we have it, it'd be truly astonishing. That's all I'm saying. Former U.S. military officials spoke to CNN's Chris Cuomo. God. That guy's being brought up on Monday following a bombshell report published by CBS News 60 Minutes. Now, if you want something to be credible, why would you go to CNN's Chris Cuomo? Like, why would you do that? You know, Q-tip guy, what are you doing? Oh, God. Both segments come ahead of a report that the Department of Defense is supposed to deliver to Congress next month. Former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe said in a recent interview that the findings will shock people because, frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public, and I reported on that yesterday. Newsworthy quotes from CNN segment. Chris Mellon, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, we have occurring violations of U.S. airspace by unidentified vehicles. They are very capable, in some cases more capable than anything in our own inventory. This has been going on for years. The truth is just emerging. We've had a massive intelligence failure, and we now have a threat, an unknown threat that we need to figure out. And my thing is, if this truly comes out that we have some serious footage of this stuff, that we really do have all this data, then that might be something that could unify the world. Because if you look at human civilization, we're very tribal people. We like to have a common enemy. And if you look in the past with Americans, we were never really fighting with ourselves like we are now because we had a common enemy, whether that was the Soviet Union, communism, whatever it was. We always had a common enemy. And right now, we don't really have a common enemy. We're just kind of fighting amongst ourselves. But the second somebody punches your family member, and you and your family were constantly fighting for years, well, somebody's going after your family member. Now you all huddle together like we're going to beat the crap out of that person. Now, I'm not saying we're going to beat the crap out of any aliens here or UFOs, but it might be something that we can really band together with as a world and go, look, there's clearly something out there that's bigger than us, that's better than us. We need to work together on this, make sure we protect ourselves, but also maybe, I don't know, try to reach out or whatever the heck they're going to do. I have no idea. Mellon, well, we clearly are vulnerable, and this has been going on for too long. Finally, our Congress is learning of the situation. They're beginning to react. So we got a lot to catch up here, but it is very concerning. It's not an imminent threat or it's not an imminent crisis or imminent threat. There's been no hostility, but there's a lot of activity, and it's increasingly bold. In some instances recently, we've had these things swarming around warships off the coast of California, swarming around our strategic missile defense bases in Guam and other things. So with all the tensions in the world and China and the rest, with the attack on the Saudi oil facilities by drones and so forth, it's something we need to take seriously. And by the way, there's reports of them even almost these unidentified craft, I don't know if it was in Russia or if it was one of our bases, ultimately engaging a nuclear warhead, like seconds from actually leaving the tube, Okay, so it's not like these things are just flying around not doing anything. They almost launched a nuke, and that's something that's unclassified now at this point. Sean Cahill, U.S. Navy Chief Master at Arms, the 5 observables indicate a technology that outstrips our arsenal by at least 100 years to 1,000 years at the moment. First of all, the aircraft had 0 control surfaces. It has no means of propulsion that we could detect. So basically, you know how like in a jet we have exhaust that comes out, meaning that if you take something, you push it out, we're going to go forward. They don't have anything like that. They have no like heat signature, no exhaust, nothing to show propulsion. It's just moving. Okay, and this is shown on infrared, IR cameras, military tech, and it's stuff that you guys can see for yourself. I showed a little bit of it in the last video. So it seemed to have some knowledge of where the pilots were headed ahead of time, and we don't possess those abilities to do that in our arsenal at the moment. Cahill, I think that we are going to find that this phenomenon represents a very large spectrum of different things. At edges of that spectrum are going to be near pure technology of our adversaries here on Earth. At the other end of that spectrum is going to be something that we don't yet understand and haven't identified yet. He's talking about aliens. He just doesn't want to say it. So I hesitate to speculate on the source, but I could tell you that I don't believe that this is within our arsenal or any human technology at the moment. And it sounds bad, and I know I sound like a weirdo when I say this. I'm starting to lean further to the aspect that it's not something from our planet. Just looking around at the world, the globe, this is technology that we've never seen before. Some, I guess, claim to have seen it, right? Maybe now they weren't as crazy as we all thought they were, right? But who knows? I can't believe this isn't bigger news, you guys. I can't believe this isn't all over headline news left and right. I know Tucker Carlson has done it a lot, but I mean, at least they're catching on here that there's stuff going on. I don't really care about the whole proving if it's aliens or not. I just care about knowing what it looks like, what's going on. Is it a national security threat? Should we be worried? Things like that. So, and like I said, it might be a possibility where this actually unifies the world, not the country, but the world, where it's like, look, there's something out there. Let's unify with Russia. Let's unify with China about what's going on here. I really don't think it's either country, to be honest with you. I really don't, unless they reverse engineered some crap and now they're just sending it all over here. It doesn't really make sense to me. But hey, kind of a lot of news today. I personally thought it was a slow news story. We finally got video footage of Joe Biden hitting a golf club, though. I've been wanting that since I started this show, but we got it, and it was great. But hey, folks, look, I looked at the data, and a lot of you aren't subscribed. I have probably about 80% of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel. And so, you know, conservative voices were being silenced left and right. You're seeing Steven Crowder probably get pulled off of YouTube here at any moment. With one more strike, he's gone. And then you're going to see it kind of topple down from there, because once they see they can get rid of one conservative channel, they're going to go ahead and get rid of others. So I ask for you to not only hit the like button to this channel if you liked it, but also if you want to support a new conservative talk show like the Bald Brad Show here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you money. And also, since YouTube loves messing with conservatives, make sure you hit that bell notification so it actually sends you the video and it notifies you, when we go live. And hit that like button, because it kind of forces the algorithm behind the scenes to push my video out there to viewers who haven't seen us. And so we're growing here. The goal is 2,000 subs by the end of this month, and we should have hit hopefully 10,000 subs by the end of the year and just continually grow from there. And I would love for all of you to be a part of this grassroots new conservative talk shows, and you could say that you're a part of the Bald Brad Show when he was doing it out of his closet. Now, we might be doing it out of here for a long time. I don't know. You know, hopefully this turns into something great. But I really do appreciate all your viewership. Leave me a comment. I reply to every single comment, you guys. So say anything you want about the show, about what we covered today, maybe just what's on your mind. But I really love talking to you all. A lot of you are hilarious. A lot of you say stuff that's probably a little bit inappropriate, but it still cracks me up. I sit there with a cup of coffee and I read. I really do read every single one of them. So thank you so much, and I will see everyone here tomorrow on the Bald Brad Show.